Welcome to the Dan and Alan Review Stuff Show. I am your host, Dan Burke, joining you tonight on a special deep dive episode. Welcome to the show. I hope all of you are having a great night wherever you are listening to this. Please don't forget to hit the YouTube like and subscribe button and the little bell notice to know when a new show comes up. Thanks a lot. From time to time, I'm going to be doing a show alone, and Alan will as well, as we wax long on a topic. As you know, it's sometimes not too much fun to sit there and listen to somebody else talk for half an hour about something while you go, That's the way we feel about it here at the Alan and Dan Show. We like people to be able to participate. So tonight, so I don't have to bore Alan to death, I'm going to talk about The Marvelous Miss Maisel, Season 4, the finale. And I'm also going to talk about the finale of Pam and Tommy and the whole season itself. First, The Marvelous Miss Maisel. I think to myself, I wonder, am I hate watching The Marvelous Miss Maisel? Because there is so much about that show that annoys me. Who am I rooting for in that show? Okay, so technically I'm rooting for Midge, right? But they don't give us the cues, and perhaps this is a testament to the writing. They don't give us the usual cues that make us root for a person. You know, Midge is, just like that series, The Great, Miz is a self-absorbed narcissist who seems only to exist to dress in fun outfits and do things for herself. It's as if her children and those around her really don't enter that much into the equation. And she's written that way. So is she an anti-hero of some sort? Have I missed the point of the show? Something to think about, right? So here's some of the reasons I love the show. Of course, the time period it's depicting is really, really cool. Now, there's something I have to say that I keep letting get away from me. The Marvelous Miss Maisel has as much realism in it as the I Love Lucy show. Okay, but my brain keeps thinking, because there's such great production value, that The Marvelous Miss Maisel is not a TV show. I must be watching, a drama, like the way you would approach anything on TV, like CSI or something. But it's not that. It actually presents a hyper comic book reality for these characters to exist in. So that's part of it for them. They are living, or the people that, the characters are existing in this weird world. One of the parts of the weird world, of course, is everybody is sort of a hyper version of what a human being actually is, a more extreme version, let's say. And I don't know. It's like Susie, she's a caricature of a human being. No human being exists like her. You couldn't. It doesn't make any sense. And I guess that we are going off into the realm of screwball comedy. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble, but let's get to the season finale of The Marvelous Miss Maisel. If you've been following along to this point, we know that Midge has been working at a strip club since she was dumped by Shy Baldwin last season. She's working at the strip club. That's her gig. She does comedy in between the strippers. And supposedly, women have heard about the great comedy of Midge over at the strip club, and women have been coming to the club. It's completely ridiculous. It's more than a farce. Nothing like that could ever happen on any planet in the universe. But anyway, we're going along with it. So that's where Midge is working. Meanwhile, every single scene with the husband is depression, like he's being punished for leaving Midge. The scenes are shot dark. The mood slows down. Everybody talks like this. And everything's sad over on the husband's part of the show because he gets poor May, his girlfriend, pregnant, and it's a big disaster. You know, for a guy who has a girlfriend he's in love with, he sure treats it like it's the saddest thing in his life ever. And I don't know, he's written that way, that's the way it is. But every time, that guy shows up, for some reason, they've chosen to slow it all down and make it all sad. So I'm not sure what the lesson is to be learned there. Anyway, the season finale does present us with some pretty cool scenes. She ends up, the club where she's working, the strip club, gets raided by the police. She runs off with Lenny Bruce and has sex with Lenny Bruce. Yep, finally gets down with Lenny Bruce. And in Lenny Bruce's bathroom, she discovers his heroin kit. And he says, hey, don't worry about it. I got it under control. That kind of thing. But then, this is the time in history where Lenny Bruce goes and plays Carnegie Hall. And evidently he kills it. And they film it, from his point of view, and it's just a marvelous, marvelous scene, and she watches him perform. Right before this, he has gotten Midge a gig opening for Tony Bennett, which is a really, really big deal. But Midge decides to turn it down because she's only going to be a headliner from now on, doing it her way. I'm not even sure when that was announced in the show, when she decided that she had to do that, but evidently I missed it. Even though I watch every episode over and over, I somehow missed when she vowed only to be an opener. But anyway, that was part of it. She vowed only, so she says, I can't go back on my promise, and it doesn't make any damn sense. The biggest break of anybody's career to do that, and she turns it down. Evidently, supposedly, in the terms of the script, she's turning it down because she's afraid of failure. But she is never written that way, as if she's been afraid to do anything. So I don't even understand her turning it down. And it's kind of unclear when her and Susie are in the office and the phone call comes in, and Midge just says, no, I don't want to do it, so Susie won't take the phone call. It's a really murky written scene. Susie keeps saying, this could be a big break for somebody, and I guess she's being sarcastic. It's not written well, that scene, and this whole episode has this frenetic pace with Susie when she's in her office and the gangsters are there cooking dinner and everybody's running around like crazy. So it's kind of weird. What can I say? It's like you're popping into the middle of some kind of crazy stage play sitcom where everybody's running around in a circle. Anyway, that's what it feels like. And Susie, again, her personality comes across as a gross caricature of a human being. Nothing real about that. She's always angry, always pissed off. It doesn't make much sense in the context of everything. Is she a rich, successful agent now? Does she have a lot of money coming in? It's never clear. Anyway, Lenny Bruce confronts Midge and says, hey, you turned down the Tony Bennett gig, and by doing so, you not only stabbed me in the back, you biatch, but you turned down a big, big chance for yourself. And he's there, the secret of this whole business is you've got to keep performing. You have to keep showing up. And she's like, well, I want to be a headliner. And he's like, that's not the way it works at all. She says I have a plan, I guess, or some BS. Anyway, those two part company there. And Midge goes out into the snow. Now, why a rich, self-absorbed woman like her would not simply call a cab, get a car, but no, in her luxurious clothes and so forth, she's out in the middle of a snowstorm walking blocks and blocks in this crazy, It's a Wonderful Life-esque snowstorm. It's just crazy. And then she looks up and it says, go forward on a billboard. And then the snow clears away and it says Gordon Ford Show. And that's a sign that Midge must go forward. And she stands there looking at the sign in the snow, and the season ends. So the season itself, overall, is much like I said in a previous episode of Alan and Dan Review Stuff, is that it's like you're treading water. Nothing is really accomplished. She loses the job with Shy Baldwin and then gets the job at the strip club, but the whole thing feels like we're treading water for the whole season. Perhaps one of the most fun episodes is episode number 7. This episode number 8's the finale. 7's the one before this. And that is the mother, under hypnosis, gets up and does Midge's act word for word up on stage in front of everybody, embarrassing everybody and how filthy and degrading Midge's act really is and how it makes fun of the people closest around her, because she makes fun of her relatives by name in the act. And it's really a vicious act, like in the level of Don Rickles. I mean, vicious. And so her mother does this act up on stage, and Midge is shocked and taken aback, and everybody is shocked and taken aback. But it's literally Midge's own words. And that brings me to the topic I always discuss about this show, is that Midge's comedy, quote unquote, is not that funny. It's not built around being dry or quiet, or it's always complaining and caustic. It's usually complaining about the state that women have it in society, or complaining about being a comedian, or just complaining. I mean, and it's not much comedy. In this one, she does a routine, and I guess it's supposed to be a killer, deadly routine, and I don't know. Everybody gives her applause and they're cheering. It's not that good. Just getting up there and complaining about stuff is ridiculous. And this routine she does in front of some women in the strip club is like, it seems like men fall apart and women have to hold it all together. Are women the one who've been in charge the whole time? Are women more important than God? And everybody cheers that statement. Women are more important than God. It doesn't even make sense. It's not funny. It's not witty. It's not quick. It doesn't circle back with some ironic twist to be funny. There's nothing. It's just, I don't know. It's just, that's the problem with this show. I guess it's got an axe to grind about women in society, and through Midge's complaining supposed stand-up, that is how she gets it across. But in episode 7, her mother does the routine, and man, you really see how vicious Midge is by watching her mom do the routine. You see how humiliating it is for her relatives. It's if Midge, let's say, becomes famous, that means she does it by making fun of the people closest around her. And it's not just society she makes fun, it's her relatives. And it's vicious. I mean, I guess a lot of comedians have made fun about their mom, their dad. It's time in memoriam, making fun about your family unit, your situation. Old grandma, it's funny stuff. But this comes across as mean-spirited. It doesn't come across as levity or funny. It's very mean-spirited. And that's a funny thing about the comedy. I think I finally unraveled it for myself. I think that's what it is about Midge's comedy. It's mean-spirited. You're never in on the joke, even though you're supposed to be. Women are smarter than men, and, so we're in on that joke? I don't know. Another crazy thing about the show, The Marvelous Miss Maisel, is after you watch the show, you see that the actress, who is excellent, has certain kind of reactions that the director to do, like surprised shock when people finally tell her the sky is blue. She has this like jaw open, blank looking stare thing. And the thing I think I don't like about what she's really chosen to do, the actress, is her voice. That's a fake voice. When she talks like this, well, men are like this. That's a fake voice. She has a real, normal, beautiful voice, the actress. Rachel Brosnahan, or whatever her name is. And beautiful voice, beautiful girl. And she uses this weird talking through your nose voice the whole time, which, again, as much reality as Lucy and Ricky. Hello, Ricky. But it's just on that level. I guess that's supposed to be it. A lot gets away from me on this show, and I guess I am, perhaps in some respects, a hate watcher. I love the period. I love the costuming. I just don't like that it's jacked up to be like a stage play. I wish they'd pull it back a couple levels, and it seemed like a real drama, like a real show about this up-and-comer comedian and what she's doing and how she's surviving and how she's meeting people and making her way literally through the tracks of history, which is really cool to watch. But it's not like that. It's a farcical send-up, like I said, of people who are very, very much caricatures of human beings in every way. And everyone's written that way. Tony Shalhoub, his blonde secretary, who is the girlfriend of Midge, like everybody's written as a cartoon character. And I'm not sure what exactly that's about. I don't know. So I love it. I hate it. Love the production values, millions of dollars. Usually love the music, love the staging and the numbers. This entire season had the feeling I was watching a TV show. I could really feel the seams the whole time all around me. It always felt like I was in a show, especially backstage at the strip club as the camera would travel through the two rooms of the backstage. And there would be this nonstop patter of quipping and talking and quipping and talking. It never stops. That never stops backstage. So it's written as a quick patter stage play. Jerry, you, hey, coffee, yup, got the flowers. Hey, here it is. All day on stage. Hey, got the script. I'm looking, mama. And like it's just a machine gun of stuff. And if you've ever walked, backstage anywhere, if it is chaos like that or it's all that stuff, everyone's exhausted in 5 minutes. Nobody could exist that way. So that's my overview, wrap-up, meandering look at The Marvelous Miss Maisel Season 4. I thought the ending episode and episode 7 were better. They really infused some drama in there because Moish is dying, but then he's not dying. So they really jacked up the drama in that way. But again, it's comedic, cartoony drama. And everybody's afraid to tell Moish's wife that, their son has gotten a girl named May pregnant. Like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, it's so Lucy and Ricky at this point. It's nuts. And as I touched on in a previous episode, the manager betrays Midge, spends all her money on gambling, and has never really repaid that debt because she got the money from the ex-husband in this season, and that was allowed Midge to have enough money to live on by giving that money. But Susie herself is an unscrupulous thief. And who are we rooting for in this show? As I asked in the very beginning, who's the hero? It can't be Susie. She's the horrible thief, always angry. Can't really be Midge. She's the self-absorbed narcissist who is mean-spirited and vicious to those around her, and evidently will crawl over the dead bodies of her friends and family to become famous. It's not the husband. He's a sad sack. He's written that way. Who are we rooting for? If anybody, I'm rooting for the lady who acts like Lucille Ball in the show. That lady's a wonderful actress, hysterically funny, and I love her. But so overall, I think, again, that The Marvelous Miss Maisel is trying to do something unique, and that's why I like it. That's why I watch it. It is unique, but sometimes, and a lot of times, I have some real problems with it because I wish it wasn't such a crazy cartoon, and I wish they had written it a little differently, more of a drama, and I wish we had somebody to root for. The most basic part of the show. Who are we hoping will win this thing? And it just never makes much sense to me that we're rooting for Midge. I'm not even sure. Well, I know Midge is rooting for Midge, but I'm not sure she's smart enough to have her own best interest in heart. And everybody thinks, she's so talented and clever. I don't know. They should hire a comedian to really write funny stuff. Bring in somebody who can tell a joke and have them write actual comedy routines for Midge. I think that would be a massive turning point for the show. Someone's doing the musical direction, someone's doing the, some of the stage design direction, so somebody should do that directing, the comedy directing part of the show. It would be a game changer for that show. Pam and Tommy, what a ride this show has been. Wow. For those who don't know, Pam and Tommy was my favorite show of the last period of time that we're in. And I have to say, this is a fantastic, amazing show. It takes me places that I didn't think I could go. And one thing they do in movies and TV now is they always want somebody to be in the character that we can identify with. You know what I mean? Like, they always need to put an Asian person in so Asians can identify and that kind of stuff. I'm glad this movie doesn't try to do that. Even though it does make Pam a sympathetic character, at the end of it, I'm identifying with Tommy Lee, who I'm nothing like. And that's the way good fiction should be. It should take us on the journey through the minds and adventures of people we don't know, haven't met, and we get a whole new point of view. We don't want to read and see stories about people that look like us and act like us. How dull is that? I spend all day with myself. Anyway, back to Pam and Tommy. What a fantastic show. Released incorrectly by releasing one show a week on a Wednesday for 2 months. That destroyed any buzz, any momentum the show had, any hope the show had of becoming popular. Should have dropped it all at once and let the momentum hit the world like a snowball from hell. But they didn't, and it's all diffused because it's hard to watch, all broken up. But that being said, got to watch the last final episode, season 1, 0. I guess there'll be no more seasons, but the final 8th episode, and it was terrific. And again, we start off hating Tommy Lee, and I'm not saying I love him, but he's sort of a dick. But for anybody who has ever been married, gone through a marriage, and no matter how much money you have, because they had all the money, nothing is ever perfect inside a marriage the way perhaps you'd like it to be. There's things that can and do go wrong, and sometimes you don't end up staying together, and breakups can be difficult. And if anything, this whole series is the love story between Pam and Tommy and how they break up. And it's really heartbreaking. It was sad to watch. It was sad to see. And I have a lot of empathy for the characters, the way they created them, and I think they did a wonderful job doing that. In this last episode, you really see them coming apart as a couple, and it was happening already, but Tommy's volatile personality, and you can see they're both trapped in a super frustrating lose-lose situation, and you can see how it undermines everything. Having been in situations where I didn't have enough money or whatever it was in relationships, and how that can ruin the whole thing, you can definitely see how a big problem like they had with the sex tape being released could make other problems happen too. Because things just don't occur in a vacuum. You don't back over your wife's foot with the car and then that's it. Just she forgives you for backing over the foot. It doesn't work that way. And probably nor should it. So these two have a lot of things happening between them that eventually breaks them up. And like I said, it's heartbreaking to watch. It's really sad. Having lived through breakups and having, lost the love of my life, quote unquote, as these two describe each other, I totally get it. Like, there's situations and things that happen beyond your control, and they just happen, and there you are. Anyway, this is a marvelous, marvelous show. Opens up with, we see the carpenters working on their house. We see how Tommy mistreats them, and then the carpenter plots revenge by going to steal something of Tommy's of worth. And he says, I'll steal this safe. And so he steals the safe out of their garage, and inside the safe, after he cuts it open, he finds the sex tape. And he doesn't know what to do with it. The internet is just about to be born, or had been born, and so he's trying to sell the sex tape to DVD manufacturers, all kinds of things. And on the flip side of that, we see the life of Pam and Tommy and what they are doing and what they're going through, and how Pam is working on Baywatch, and how she's trying to get her career launched in the movies with the movie Barbed Wire, and how Tommy's career is pretty much over at this point. No one gives a darn about Motley Crue. Their heyday is over. And it's really exemplified in this show when they're doing a live show in a parking lot trying to promote their new album. That's about as sad as playing at the county fair. And then you see all their albums being put into the discount rack because nobody's buying them. So, he's at the end of his career. She was trying to launch at the beginning of her career. There's all kinds of tensions in their own life that have nothing to do with them, but of course spill over into your relationship. And I think they show that really, really well. And they show who Pam was, a small-town girl, probably, pardon me, not small-time, small-town girl coming up and doing her thing, and trying to become an actress. And the whole thing becomes, it's an accident really how she gets into it. She didn't plan on being an actress, didn't plan on being a model or a Playboy person. It just happened to her. And she was no mastermind or genius. And you can see how the pressure and the BS and the lawyers and the legality of it all overwhelmed her. If you've ever been involved in a long-term lawsuit that goes on for years and years and years, it can be a huge financial, emotional, physical drain. You feel like shit all the time having to be involved in it. Depositions, more lawyers, more court time, more bullshit, more red tape. It is literally like taking a shit shower in a shit bathtub. It is the worst. And it goes on for years. So you can see how this is whittling away at Pam Anderson, and you can see how it's whittling away at Tommy, and you can see how it's causing a rift in the relationship and the hardships it does on them, and it does on all people when you have stuff like this. Nobody gets out unscathed in something like this. You think you might win the lawsuit, but in the end, you've been fighting for 4 years, and you look in the mirror and you look 10 years older because you've been fighting for 4 years. There's no way to get out unscathed. That's the fact of it. And so you can really see the brutal assault on them that the release of this sex tape that was their private property inflicts on them. It's rough. And, having lived through that time of history, you don't really think about it. I clicked on the tape, I watched it for 1 minute and went, some blurry nonsense, never thought of it again. I'm sure millions of people across the world did the same thing. But she became a household name, her and Tommy Lee, because of it, probably. I don't know. I probably wouldn't have heard of him except for that. I didn't know who Motley Crue was, to be honest. So it's a thing, But this is a super, super well-written, super well-produced show with lots of twists and turns. Believe it or not, there is a lot of humor in there, especially as the carpenter guy gets in over and over his head. And everything he does is a bad decision. But it's funny, you really see how he regrets his decision, whether he did or not in real life, who knows, but how he comes to really regret doing what he did, even though Tommy Lee ripped him off for like $20,000 and all his tools. You can see why the guy wanted revenge, but you can also see how it screwed up that guy's life completely. And he learns that lesson. And perhaps of all the people in the story, Rand, the carpenter, goes through the most changes. It might be Rand's journey, the whole story, because he's the one who learns his lesson. Don't do business with mobsters. That's a good lesson to learn. But anyway, I give the Pam and Tommy show a 10 out of 10. And I thought that the final episode was very satisfying. And weirdly enough, when you watch this, because you see the legal shenanigans people go through to release the photographs at Penthouse, to put the tape for free on the internet and so forth, you can really see how the legal system in many ways is not set up to protect people and their private property when it actually should be. They shouldn't be allowed to release a sex tape of you because you're a famous person and say that it's all good because you're famous. It's not. It's not good. It's not right. Even if you're a famous person, they should not be allowed to cheat you, rob you, take advantage of you, or any of that stuff. There shouldn't be special rules to screw you over because you're famous. There's a line in this show where Pam says, no one cares what happens to a slut. You just don't have any rights. And it's true. It's weird. It seems like the court system's really screwed over Pam and Tommy in this, never defending their right for privacy, always defending the right of other people to abuse their privacy. So it seemed weird that despite all their money and stuff, they were left unprotected by the legal system, which, as I've been saying, I don't think that's really fair. Why is it if you're a model and you take off your clothes, you then no longer have any privacy rights? That doesn't make sense. There's a whole lot wrong with our legal system, and this show kind of points that out. And I think that there is kind of a bias. And I think when you go into court, let's say you're a naked model, or you're gay, or you're whatever it is the judge may not like or have a bias against, and go, well, you brought it upon yourself. They just don't have much sympathy for you. And it's really not their job to have sympathy for you. They're supposed to apply the law equally to everybody, no matter what your position, whether you're rich or poor. And so if somebody steals your sex tape, they should not be allowed to release it and sell it to other people. That seems pretty basic to me, but what do I know? Right? That's a tangent, I know, but I'm thinking that shouldn't be that way. I want to thank everybody for stopping in today and chatting with me, taking a deep dive into the marvelous Mrs Maisel Season 4, and taking a deep dive into Pam and Tommy, which I thought was a wonderful series, highly recommended. I'll see you next time in the Alan and Dan Review Stuff show. Have a great night.